Alright, this has been requested, and so I'm going to talk about my first wife and my only white wife, and my last white wife, I would say, that I'll ever have. Obviously, my last white wife. So, I was in high school, and I was never attracted to young high school girls. I've just never found giggly, teeny bopper, vapid children to be sexy. That's never appealed to me. So I was always into older women. So I was on the football team, and I was 19, I believe. I think so. I think I was 19. And my dad had a friend from school. I think he was a friend from school, or maybe a friend from when he lived in Kansas in the 70s or something. And they were friends. And he worked as a prison ward, a prison like guard at the Hutchinson Correctional Facility, and in Hutchinson, Kansas. And he had his own gym at his house, and I wanted to be able to work out all the time, but our gym was only open sometimes at the high school. And our gym teacher was actually the basketball coach, and the gym teacher didn't have a lot of idea about how to be muscly. And my dad's friend was huge. He was a warden, a prison guard, a prison guard. So he was, a big dude. And he had some friends that he worked out with, a couple guys that he worked out with. So he asked me if I wanted to come over, and he met me through my dad, and asked me if I wanted to come work out at his house. And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds cool. So I was able to go out there and work out all the time. Well, his wife had a sister, and she was 31, and she was chubby, a little bit overweight, and I was, like I say, 19, still in high school, because I actually, because of my adoption stuff, and I was going to so many different schools when I was in first grade that I actually did first grade 2 years in a row. So that's why I should have graduated when I was 18, but I ended up graduating I would have graduated when I was like 20, so yeah. So I was 19 and still in school, and I did the workout thing, and I was hanging out at his house, and the wife's sister met me, and we started talking and getting to know each other, and I kind of liked her, and I started dating her and having sex with her, and then we ended up moving in together, and we fucked like rabbits, and we were living in a little town, and I moved out of my house and moved into her place, and I had quit school, and she was on welfare. That she actually had a daughter that she had who was paraplegic, and she was paraplegic because she was on drugs when she had her. And she used to come over to the house, and she would just kind of like lay on the floor, She looked like a sack of potatoes. She just lay on the floor. She couldn't even speak. And her ex-husband took the child from her, and I should have known something there, but I was too young and didn't really care. And her son, she had another son, and he was from a boyfriend that she had while she was still with her husband, So, this is all, if I was smarter and older, I would have known to stay far clear of this woman. But I didn't, and I was with her about 9 months, 8 or 9 months, I think. I married her very quickly, and she was about 6 months pregnant, and I was living with her in a small town in Kansas, and she had me take her to a house. While I waited in the car with her son and was taking care of her son in the car, she went into somebody's house and was in the house for 2 hours, came back out, grabbed a black book, and went back into the house and was in there for like another 40 minutes, and then came back out and we went home. And I knew something was up automatically, because like I said, we used to fuck like, rabbits, and I was in that point where it kind of, started going down. We used to fuck like 4 or 5 times a day, and by that time it was like, 2 times a week maybe. So when I got home, I tried to have sex with her. She said she wasn't in the mood, and she took a shower. So I knew something was up right away. I already knew kind of what happened, but that was just an easy way to tell. And I told her the next day. I acted like nothing was wrong. I went to sleep, The next day I asked her, did she want me to take her to her parents' house? Because her parents' house was in the same place my parents' house was. And I had called my parents and told them that I was going to leave her. So I took her to her parents' house, which was about 6 miles from where we lived. And my parents were just right across the other side of the road. And I just drove back to my house. I packed all my shit up really quickly, threw it in the car, and went and moved into my parents' house. And then moved into Hutchinson, and got a job in Hutchinson, and went to college, and did some stuff. That was in like 1991 or 92, somewhere around there. So she ended up having a son, and that's my son now, I say my son, but I'll explain this a little bit further for some of the people that have wanted to know about my son, why I say I don't really talk to my son. I don't want anything to do with him. She had him while I was still in Kansas, and then, as I had said in another video, I got tired of living in Kansas because I hate it. And Kansas is like a black hole that just sucks you in and kind of keeps you there. And I wanted to get out. And when I left, I had, I think, $300 and a 1972 Chevy Vega. And I just threw all my shit in the Vega. And I drove out of there with a car with a clutch that was almost fucked, And I basically just got it going, and I just kept it going the whole way, and I actually got lost once I got to Pueblo, and I actually had to have my car picked up and towed to my cousin's house, because I finally got to Pueblo, Colorado, where I moved to, and it finally completely blew up to where I couldn't drive it anymore with the clutch plate. It had completely fallen apart and disintegrated to where I couldn't get it to go into gear and give it some gas. It just kind of spun and wouldn't work. So yeah. And so I was in Colorado for about 2 months, and my cousin kicked me out. I moved into a hotel, and the guy that lived next to me in the hotel had a friend, and I'll go on with the story in another video, but he had a friend that had been divorced, and she was 41, and at the time I was 20, because this was in like November of 92. I think November or December of 92. Yeah, something like that. And so I was living in this hotel, and I was working for Color Tile doing carpet and shit like that, and she offered to have me come stay at her house and live in Colorado, out in Aguilar, Colorado, down by Trinidad, Colorado. So I ended up moving in with her. But it was about 4 years later of being in that relationship that I was staying in a bus, and we were with the Grateful Dead. We were traveling around with the Grateful Dead, and I was living in a bus at the time. And we went back to Kansas, and that was the first time I had seen my parents since I had left in 92 to go to Pueblo. And when I came back, my son was 4 years old, and The thing I noticed right away about him, and in the pictures, is he had bright, bright orange hair. And I'm, as you can tell, well, maybe not, because my hair's blue. So, but my mother was Japanese, and my father was white. He had blonde hair and blue eyes, curly hair. So I have curly hair, but my mother was Asian. So my hair is black. Not black, but like dark brunette, we'll say. Sandy blonde, you know. So I have very dark brown hair. I don't have any red hair at all. I know I met her brothers, her cousins. We went over to all their houses. I know her family. I know her father and her mother. Neither of them have orange hair. You know, none of them are carrot tops. She doesn't have orange hair. She has brunette hair. She has brown eyes, you know. So I met my son, and he has orange hair, you know. So it just told me right away, like, I don't know if, you know, how long she was sleeping with somebody else, you know, if she really actually, if he's actually even mine. Now, we never had any paternity tests or anything like that. So I met her. They told me where she was. I went over to that friend's house that had the weight set, and I found out where she was. She was living in Omaha. No, not Omaha. What am I talking about? Wichita. She was living in Wichita, Kansas. So I drove up to Wichita, Kansas, and I met my son, and I took her. She was on welfare still. This woman has never worked a day in her life, and I met her, and she was with this dude who had an awesome, amazing name. Big chubby tub of shit, you know, just a worthless guy, drinking, you know, smoking cigarettes, act like a complete loser, right? Name is Blue. Awesome guy, you know. So, yeah, this is the guy that was taking care of my son and raising my son at the time. So, apparently he abused her as well. She told me later when I had met her, on online when I started to move. And at the time he was giving me shit, you know, saying like, I've been raising your kid and I'm his dad, blah, 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 like this stuff. And then she was begging me not to take my son because her other son had been taken by her boyfriend as well, and that my son was the only one that she still had. So because of the way she was, it probably would have been very easy for me to get custody of him if I wanted to. But we never did any paternity tests. So I left and never had any more contact with him after that experience. And I was in Japan. I moved to Japan, and when my dad had died and I got divorced, I came back and stayed in Kansas for 2 months. And I worked at a place, and I went to college. And because of that, I entered my Social Security number into the Kansas registry. And it was really weird. I went back to Japan, and I went back to Japan in like October, and by February of 2006, they contacted me, Kansas, and they had sent me a letter. They found out where I was living in Japan, which I must have left a forwarding address, maybe, I don't know, but somehow they found me, and some court official sent me some paperwork and said that my son wanted to, they wanted to prove paternity, and they wanted to put me on the, because this is the thing, something I found out when I seen my son when he was 4. She didn't even put me on his birth certificate as the father. She had the father listed as unknown. Okay. So if she knew it was me, why would she not put me on the birth certificate? That's the first problem, besides the red hair. So I told her, you know, I looked around. I said, I can't find anybody. They don't do those tests here in Japan. They don't do paternity tests like that here. So I couldn't get it done, and I came back to Japan, and I didn't go back to the U.S. until 2009. And because of all the trouble, I didn't really have much to do with my son. I kind of contacted him on the phone and stuff like that. And from the way he was talking, the mother had told me when I left her and moved back in with my parents, that I could come back anytime I wanted to and have sex with her because I was good in bed, and I could come back anytime I wanted to and have sex with her as long as I didn't sleep with any blacks, you know. So that was the home that he was raised in, and this was at the time when she was like 31 years old. So my son, fast forward to me talking to him when he was only like 13. He was like super religious and always talking about religion. I'm an atheist, so that kind of like annoyed the shit out of me, and I was always trying to talk to him about religion, and when he would talk to me about it. And then he was also saying stuff about blacks and gays and, you know, just, you know, everything, because he's a white boy and his mom was white, and so, you know, he's obviously the king of the world, you know. So with all of this, I went to college when I came back to the U.S. And I got a student loan, and I got spring break. And on spring break, I had this cool little Toyota pickup, like a 1978, I think, 1978 or 79 Toyota pickup truck. So I drove out to Kansas and stayed at a hotel in Kansas, and I seen my son for the first time since he was 4 years old. And at the time, he was 19, I think, somewhere around there, 19 years old, something like that. So I seen him and met him and bought him some stuff and did some stuff, and I bought him a guitar and a guitar amp because he played guitar, and I was like really overwhelmed with like how horrible he was living because of his mom, you know. And he was like overweight and was eating crappy, smoking cigarettes, a dropout of high school in like 12th grade, you know. I mean, just a complete loser. Didn't have a job, was living with his mom, taking care of her because she was like now on Social Security disability, never worked a day in her life, like I say, you know. So I bought him a guitar and a guitar amp and a brand new guitar I brought from Colorado. And when I bought him the amp and I bought him some clothes, he called me after I left and went back to Colorado and was in Fort Collins going to college. He called me and told me that his little puppy that he had ripped up the clothes that I bought him, and he told me that his brother had taken the guitar and the guitar amp that I had bought him and took it into his room and was playing it and locked his door and wouldn't let him get the guitar back, you know. So, you know, he's a fucking loser, basically. And I kept telling him, just go in there and take the fucking thing. You know, it's your guitar. I bought it for you. I didn't buy it for him. It's not his guitar. It's for you, you know. And I said, if it was me, I'd just go kick his fucking door down if he's got it locked. Just kick his fucking door in and take your guitar. You know, it's your guitar. It's not his, you know. And so he has this thing where he talks all tough, like, oh, I would do this, I'm going to do this, and you know, this kind of bullshit. So he never did, and eventually he got it back. He apparently moved out of his house into somebody else's house, and then he called me and told me he wanted me to buy him a Flying V guitar. And I was like, why? And he said, well, somebody stole my guitar. He told me that somebody stole it, which probably he pawned it, but he told me somebody broke into his house and stole the guitar, you know, this brand new guitar I bought him. And then he wants me to just buy him another guitar because he's had this life where he grew up with his parents, his mom being on welfare and now Social Security disability. So in his mind, he thinks that everything should be just given to him, that he shouldn't have to work for anything. There's no reason to work. You could just be lazy all your life and do whatever the fuck you want. And you don't have to work a day in your life and you'll be just fine, just perfect, just like his mom, you know. So, you know, this is the reason why I really don't have anything to do with him, you know. And just before I came back to Japan, I told him, look, I'm leaving America for good. I'm not coming back to the U.S. I don't want anything to do with it, and I'm probably going to stay in Japan the rest of my life. And he was like, "Oh, that's all right. You're not a good father, anyways." And I'm, you know, like I say, I don't even know if I am his father. You know, so he's 24 now, I think, something like that. He has a birthday in November, so he might be. He was born in 92, I think. 92 or 91, I don't remember. Something like that, 92, 91, something like that. So he's like 23, almost 24, I think, right now. So yeah, yeah, I think he's almost 23. I think, yeah. Yeah, almost 23. He'll be turning 23 in November. So, yeah. So, you know, that's the story of that. And basically for the people that want to know, why don't you have anything to do with your son? That sounds really awful. Well, the fact is, I say he's my son, but the fact is I don't think he is my son, you know. And me being transgender and being involved in that community, not being racist at all. I have lots of friends who are black and Asian and you know, Indian, and I don't really care. If you're a cool person, I'll hang out with you. I don't even care if you're religious and you're Muslim. I don't care. As long as you don't talk about that shit to me, I don't give a fuck. So being like that and then hanging out with somebody that every word that comes out of his mouth is fucking gays and fucking blacks and fucking, you know, I hate these fucking, and, you know, this kind of shit, because that's how he talks, you know, because he was raised by a racist in a racist family. So knowing that, just nothing I want to associate with. So that's the story and that's the reason. And as I say, we got a divorce right away, me and her, and I applied for a divorce immediately. And I didn't see her again until he was 4 years old. And then even when I seen him when he was 19, when I came back, I never actually met her. I just went and picked him up at the house and gave him the guitar that I had bought him. And then he came and stayed at my hotel for like a week, and he lived in my hotel because he just wanted to spend time with me and get away from his mom. So he was actually living at my hotel for like a week, and we had the guitars there, and he was playing guitar with me, and I was teaching him stuff on guitar and stuff like that. So he was pretty happy because he had never had a father figure, you know. And I told him several times, you know, I didn't know if he was my kid or anything like that, but I told him, if you want, because I seen how he was living, I said, if you want, you can come stay with me in Colorado, and you can leave your mom. You were out of school, and you can come leave your mom and come stay with me in my home. And if you do that, I told him I would buy him a car, and I would let him live in my home. But he had to either get a job, or he had to go to college, and he would have to get his GED, or I would try to see if I couldn't, because he was very young at the time, you know, he's only 19, I could have probably got him into a high school in Fort Collins where he could have finished out his high school degree, got his high school diploma, and then went to college and learned something. I didn't care. I told him, I don't care what you do. You could go for auto body or mechanics or welding or whatever, you know. I don't care what you do. Nursing, cosmetology, whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't care. But you have to go to college. You have to do something, you know. And so I told him that, and he's like, no, I just want to hang out and smoke weed, and I'll find a job maybe. And, you know, he's just stupid. He's just a complete fucking retard from Kansas, you know. And they have this kind of sinkhole mindset where they're just like, they can't think of anything, and they just can't, they have no awareness of reality, because they live in this religious bubble, and they're just, you know, what can I say? So that's the story for the people who wanted to know. I'm going to tell the story of my second wife, who was a Spanish woman that I met in Pueblo. I'll tell that in the next video. So thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget that I'm having the 5,000 subscribers drawing. When I get to 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away a free guitar. Tell everybody that you know. Subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, well, thanks for watching.